Today, we are honored to welcome David Hunter to the show today. I'm very excited about this topic. He talks about something very little known in the health and wellness space, marine phytoplankton. And he knows this topic inside and out. So, this is the guy to have on the show for this. And we're going to learn today about his story, the benefits, and what actually is this and how we can incorporate it in our life. So, how are you doing today, man?
Doing awesome. Really super happy to share the good news.
Absolutely. I'm very excited and very interested to hear your story and how you got into the wellness place and what you're doing today to help people in terms of marine phytoplankton.
Okay. My story begins in 2005. And I was 32 years old, and I'm 52 right now. So I just had my 20-year anniversary on
Wow.
July 5th of this event that changed the course of my life. And I was preface that when I ran into phytoplankton, I didn't know what it was. No health and wellness knowledge at all. About 60 pounds overweight, multiple ailments. My background is I used to be a cedar shingle cutter. Actually, I used to cut cedar shingles, which actually a lot of them went into America. So I'm from originally from Vancouver, British Columbia, which had a lot of Western red cedar that enters the United States, and not a job I wanted to do, but I landed. I read a book by Brian Tracy, who's like a sales trainer, and just about maximum performance and how successful people have they have patterns and all this stuff, and it just kind of changed my life. But I was stuck in a mill, and then after actually I became self-employed. I ended up being a partner in a mill, and our mill burnt down, and I started a bottled water company with a high school buddy, and we started that basically as an idea before the mill burnt down, and we had this name called Drink a Water. And we started a bottled water company, which we didn't own the bottling facility. We did contract manufacturing, and the FDA classifies bottled water as food. And so we also marketed in Alaskan glacier water. We actually represented a town of 80 people in a small town called Hyder, Alaska, which is the most southern town in Alaska, and it neighbors a small British Columbia town. And but that I didn't know about it at the time, kind of set the stage for this phytoplankton thing. So, trying to make a long story short, so I met a gentleman. So get this, okay? On March 20th in 2004, I met a gentleman in California at a trade show who was from my area on Vancouver Island, because I was living on Vancouver Island at the time. And he had a shellfish farm, and he was growing marine phytoplankton for shellfish food that were destined for restaurants. And so I went up to the booth at this show, because it was a natural supplement booth, because bottled water, since it was Alaskan, it was more natural. It wasn't like a commodity. So it would go into health food stores. So this is the reason why I was at the show. And we literally had a 10-minute conversation, okay? And I kind of he had the ugliest booth in the show, and I think he was at the wrong show. So, and I just went up to him because he was from around 30 miles away from me geographically. We were both a couple of Vancouver Islanders in California, and I just, he's from Nanaimo. I'm going to just go say hi, right? And I literally had a 10-minute conversation and didn't know what phytoplankton was. He told me about it, still didn't understand it. And his sales manager who's with him asked me what I did, and I told him I was with Drink a Water, and he actually knew about it because our water was on Vancouver Island as well. Not only were we in the lower 48, but we were also on Vancouver Island. It was just a random thing because we were there. And he knew about it, and he asked me for my business card. Now, get this. On July 5th, again, that was my anniversary. I remember the date well because our Independence Day or Canada Day or whatever it's on July 1st. So we didn't have that day off, right? So it was. So I was working. I remember it was on July 5th. I went into the office, and we had to raise a lot of money and capital in order to build this bottled water company. And I walked into the office on a Monday, totally like any other day, and my business partners were in the office wanting to talk to me, and they said that they wanted to buy me out. And I had no clue it was gonna. I had no clue it was coming. And but it was not a hostile takeover or anything like that. It was very friendly, and I had I thought I was going to be in bottled water my whole life, and all of a sudden, because there was a whole group of them that made this decision without me, because I was the sales guy and I was the highest paid guy in the company, I guess, and it was just kind of one of those things that they decided that we built it up enough that they could take it from this point on, and they didn't need me anymore because they needed my shares to raise more capital. So that was kind of but I was completely caught off guard. Okay, so keep in mind this is now July 5th, 2005. So I'm in shock, absolute total shock, totally trying to reboot my life, and I go to my desk to clean out my desk. Okay, and while I am cleaning out my desk, the phone rings, and I'm kind of going, you know what? I'll let Gary deal with that. Not my job no more. And I said, you know what? I'm doing one more for the road. I'm not ready to leave just yet. I'm taking one more phone call. And I picked up the phone, and it was the sales manager from Unique Sea Farms from that trade show, asking me if I can go over to their place and help them with some marketing and sales expertise and distribution for their marine phytoplankton. So keep in mind, we went from March 20th, 2004, okay, 10-minute conversation, July 5th, 2005, and literally in 10 minutes, okay, if he would have called me before I went into my meeting, my whole world was bottled water. There was no way I wouldn't have touched it. I wasn't interested in it, whatever. And if you would have called 10 minutes later, there's no way in the world I would have got that phone call. Like 10-minute window, what is it? Like a year and a few months apart, right? Like on the nuggets. And so it was so random. I was there the next day. And so I went there, and they had this marine phytoplankton it was a huge sea farm, and they had around, I think, 250,000 gallon tanks. I'm going to go in gallons, that were full of different types of salmon, sockeye salmon, pink salmon, cohos, all these things that go to restaurants. But then they had this other division on the other side where they had shellfish, and this guy named Tom was cultivating marine phytoplankton on land, and then making it be concentrated. And we'll talk a little bit more, but phytoplankton is the algae, and I'll give you a little bit more details on that. But then he was taking this phytoplankton paste, feeding it to the shellfish, and the unique selling proposition is that it was 2.5 times bigger than shellfish on traditional commercial feed. So just that alone was enough for me to be like, I can help you with this. I don't have to like shellfish. I can see this with my own eyes. I'm good. So the kicker was that Tom had mesothelioma, and he was expected to die and needed some sales and marketing systems for his wife and the daughter in the event of his inevitable passing. Okay, so I'm like, all right, game on, let's do it. So I started working for him, and he was an absolutely amazing boss. Amazing boss. Great company, great people. And shortly after I started working for him, he had the paste, and he was feeding it into the shellfish, and they thought, started, right? And it was like, what are you doing, bro? Like, are you serious? Right? And he's like, well, he goes, it kind of smells like seaweed. I like dulse, and it actually tastes not too bad. I'm like, okay, well, random, but yeah, all right. And so we just went about our day, and Tom's eating phytoplankton out of the tank, and here we go. So he comes up to me a couple of weeks later and says, hey, Dave, I got something to tell you. And I'm like, oh yeah, what is it? And he goes, I didn't tell you this, but I'm a type 1 diabetic. And he goes, I don't know what's going on, but my blood sugar is completely normal.
Wow.
And we were like going, oh, Who would have thought cancer medication would work on diabetes? That's what we said. And you probably know the thing that when they discovered Viagra, like they weren't actually looking for that. It was like something else. I don't know the exact
Right.
details, but I knew it was they were. So I kind of defaulted into that brain and said, "Oh, hey, like can't whatever." And he's like, "Yeah, he's kind of weird. I feel really good." And he goes, "I'm not even taking my needle. Like I'm feeling really good." And so we thought it was the cancer medication. So he went into the Royal Jubilee Hospital in Victoria for an operation called a talc treatment. And so what happens when you get mesothelioma, the response of the cancer is water start to fill up your lungs and then you can drown, right? So they do when you hit a certain stage in the cancer, they do a talking treatment to stop that from happening so you don't drown, okay? Well, he went in, he was supposed to be gone for a while. He went in, does the operation, and not expecting to see him, but he's back the next day. And I'm like, what are you doing here? I thought you were going to get this thingamabob, right? And he goes, well, they sent me back. They went in there to go do the operation, and they found a cotton white substance along the pleural lining of my lungs, and they don't know what it is, and so they sent me back. And I'm like, okay, well, welcome back. What do you want me to do today, boss? Is there anything on the agenda? Like, let's go to work, right? Well, anyway, he gets a phone call a few days later, and they're very confused because there is zero cancer in his body.
Wow.
Absolutely zero, okay? And we're like, holy smokes, all right. Now, I don't know how this happened, okay? But I like literally went into work a few days later. I don't know if it was 1 day, 2 days, or 3 days. It's kind of a little bit blurry. But all I know is that I walked up the stairs and that sales manager that hired me is like, Dave, Tom's recovery made the newspaper and our phone is lighting up for like a Christmas tree. You need to pick up the phone and talk to all these people. And I'm like, what? Like, what? Okay, give me some context. What's going on? Yes, I'll do it, but like, give me some context. He goes, Tom's cancer recovery made the front page of the newspaper, the local newspaper, and it made the fourth page of the provincial newspaper, the Vancouver province, which is basically 4 million circulation. You can imagine. And the title of the story was Man Believes Plankton Stopped His Rare Cancer. Picture of him and his daughter on the front page. He basically gave his phytoplankton all the credit. He believes that the plankton did it. So I don't know how, if he did a press release, had a buddy as a reporter, I don't know. All as I know is I picked up the phone, hundreds of people, man, hundreds. Desperate people willing to drive the ends of the earth to come, because again, British Columbia is a very big province. It's probably it's like literally like from Washington State to middle of California long, like deep, right? And so people were coming from the north and they had to go on a ferry to get to the island. And we even had people from Washington State come up, okay? It was a big deal. And we're talking hundreds, okay? And just one after the other. Just, I need phytoplankton. I have this health issue. I need some. And so Tom said he's going to give it out to people for free at your own risk, right? I mean, he lit the fire, so we had to deal with it. So we gave out hundreds of these little, kind of like when you go shopping, you have like these little Tupperware things, like little cups, and you put lids on them. We were
Yeah.
scooping the phytoplankton up, and we were giving people this paste, and they were taking it home with them. Now, I was like, give me some of that. I'm interested. Well, I ended up taking it, and I had a life-changing experience in a very short period of time. So the first thing that happened to me, it was really weird. I lost my taste for sugar. I didn't want it like
Really?
I had two sugar in my coffee every morning and a donut. The taste of it totally repulsed me. Like next day. That was really, I thought they actually screwed up my coffee. I thought that maybe like somebody at the bakery at the coffee shop like slipped up. That's what I thought. I'm like, oh my God, like, they put in here half a cup? Like, this is
Yeah.
disgusting. I was kind of actually gagging. It was really weird. Um, I had like, I had a very fluid digestive tract all of a sudden. I had like major detox. There's this thing that says like when people die, they sometimes have 20 pounds of crud in their colon.
Yeah.
I can attest to that. I think that that's true. Keep in mind, I was about 265 pounds. I was overweight. I was very overweight, and so I attest that to be true, and that happened pretty quick, and I had a candida rash between my legs for years, again because of my diet. Went away in 3 days. I had a nasal drip forever. Like I'd have to blow my nose. I had like a handkerchief in my pocket all the time. That stopped. I had energy and mental clarity like that I couldn't even remember since I had it. My brain was firing on all cylinders. And the other thing that happened to me was that after a couple of weeks of taking it, I wasn't having a migraine headache, and I was a severe case of migraine headaches ever since I was about 12 years old. Ever since I was in junior high school, I had migraine headaches. Never stopped until that day. And then I'm like, oh, hey, I haven't had a migraine headache in a while. So I'm having this profound healing, like in such a short period of time. So, okay, I'm experiencing this. Now, 30 days or so later, the hundreds of people that we gave the phytoplankton to came back. And they were looking for more. And they were telling me about miraculous healings that deem impossible, right? And again, very limited medical and health and wellness, okay, knowledge. But my mom was a nurse. And so I kind of knew like a little bit, like I cared about people. Like my mom was like the head nurse of Maple Ridge Hospital.
Right.
She cared about people. I kind of had that a little bit in my genes, a little bit, even though I knew nothing about food or wellness or nothing like that. But I was very like, holy, like this is not normal. Like I'm like, what? Basically paraphrasing, I've had Crohn's and colitis for 25 years. I can now eat pizza. Thank you so much. Give me as much as you can give me. I'll pay whatever the price. I've had chronic dandruff my whole life. I have no dandruff. I can't believe it, right? Fibromyalgia. I couldn't even hold my grandkid, and now I can like dance in the kitchen and carry my grandkid under my arm. Erectile dysfunction. I remember I had this happiest guy in the world show up. uh, his erectile dysfunction was good again. So a lot of high fives going on there. If you're a guy, right, you would understand. And yeah, I mean, it was just all over the map. So where my life changed, like the definitive moment of my life, was a gentleman named Dr. Bob Rowe comes over, and he is seeing this with his patients. Right? And of course he saw the newspaper article, so he shows up to the sea farm, and I'm just like feeling like I'm on candid camera. Like, am I on a TV show? Is this a practical joke? Like, this is just, I'm feeling amazing. All these people are feeling this, telling me that the mental clarity and energy seem to be the baseline of everything else, okay? And so Dr. Rowe comes over, and I'm like, Dr. Rowe, like, what is going on here? Like, what is going on? And he goes, I think Tom just discovered the holy grail of nutrition. And he goes, I think what is going on, he goes, I can't believe it. He goes, but marine phytoplankton is the first food in the food chain, in the oceanic ecosystem. He goes, it's the base nutrient, feeds the krill, feeds the whales. The entire oceanic ecosystem is nourished from marine phytoplankton, and it's microscopic. And he goes, I think what is happening is we literally have pure nutrition being cultivated. And he goes, I think what is going on is that because it's microscopic, it's the perfect food for the mitochondria, which is the engine of the cell. And he thinks what is going on is the mitochondria, if somebody's plugged up, or been eating like crap or whatever it might be, like, exposed to paint or whatever, chemicals or environmental, the phytoplankton goes into the mitochondria, and it's like an old car that's like dun, 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 from a garage, right? Dun, 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 dun. Put some oil and gas in there, boom, fires up, and it ignites, like in a good way. It fires up. Now it's running. So this is the energy that people are talking about. And then if it's kicking out all the crud, then now also too, he said that it's also creating probably a cell signaling in the cells, which is reigniting or re-energizing the immune system, which is explaining the autoimmune diseases like the arthritis, the fibromyalgia, the Crohn's colitis being reversed in such a short period of time, because an autoimmune disease is just simply the immune system is completely like confused and dysfunctional and it's not operating properly. And so the body's working against itself. But then if the mitochondria is fired up, because now it's completely nourished with every fatty acid and mineral and antioxidant known to man, probably because it's the base food on the planet. Now, he said, he was telling me, you have cell signaling. The immune system can now talk to each other, get rid of all the nasties, clean things out, and then you're nourished. And that's why these autoimmune things like kind of like reverse in such a short period of time, because now the immune system's working. Because it's like, how could this happen like within weeks, right? And so, and he's like, he goes, Dave, he goes, I think this is an accidental monumental discovery. And I go, well, Dr. Rowe, I said, I feel freaking amazing. And I said, like, I just witnessed 200 people plus come here crying, looking for more, looking to pay whatever the price was for it. And I'm like, I mean, and then my capitalistic mind kicked in. And then I'm like, we could, like, this could be a business, right? And I'm like, screw the shellfish food. Like, let's give, like, and anyway, anyway, I'm going to just tell you what happened, because I think this is kind of funny, right? So I went up to go Tom, and I'm like, I'm jacked up. My mom passed away of cancer in 1993. So this had a special, this hit me here when you see people get better, right? Like, especially debilitating or life-threatening. So, if somebody's lost anybody to cancer or something else, they know, right? You get fired up pretty quick if you would witness this, right? Anyway, so I went to go see Tom, and I was like, oh, this needs to go to the Prime Minister, and, this has to go to the highest level. Like, Tom, like, like the healthcare system could be totally running properly. Like we can have the foundation of nutrition for everybody. And this is exactly what he said to me. He said, kid, you are the most effing naive person I've ever met in my life. He goes, do you really think that if you showed this to the Prime Minister that he would like put this in the food chain? And I'm like, well, why not? Like, it would totally solve healthcare. I mean, healthcare is the number one cost of our tax system, right? And he goes, kid, you're so naive. He goes, it doesn't work like that. And I'm like, well, what are you talking about? And he's like, it doesn't work like that. He goes, he goes, let's just sell some shellfish food, okay? And anyway, I just I worked for him for a little while longer, and I ended up going on my own and like really dove into. I basically decided with that meeting with Dr. Rowe that I would dedicate my life to this no matter what, no matter how hard it was. This was my mission in life. I was, because of the reason why I said the thing about Drinka when I got the phone call. I was put to, I go, because I was so trained on manufacturing, food production, licensing, Health Canada, FDA. Like, the bottled water completely trained me for this thing. And it was such a random thing because it was in such that window. I was put here to do this. Like, I'm gonna see this through no matter what. I really, truly, I still believe that. And and since then I dedicated my life to learning about marine phytoplankton. I isolated a strain of marine phytoplankton that on paper looked really good. I went to Europe, found a person in Spain that was able to custom grow that phytoplankton under the safety standards that would be acceptable by the North American governments. And we basically I took the spearhead at it, but we basically pioneered, and you can imagine how hard this would be to basically pioneer a food or an ingredient that was never in the food chain ever in history. And I can tell you it took me 6 years. 6 years to pioneer it, to get it approved, licensed, and everything. With no cash flow, I had to work in a restaurant while I was doing my regulatory paperwork, and I hate paperwork and government paperwork to boot. and but I got it done, and I'm kind of been talking for a while there, but that was the start. But we launched it in Canada, and we were probably one of the fastest growing supplements in Canada. We like literally, I went from the basement of the restaurant that I was working in, got it into one pharmacist's hands that it cured his acid reflux in a week, and he was on Tecta. And he put it in all his stores, told all his other pharmacy buddies about it. And I went from those original 7 stores to over 3,000 retail doors in Canada, including a national listing in Costco in 5 years. We were known as the best reviewed supplement in Canada. We were audited by Deloitte, got investment. Deloitte said they had never seen such a high reorder value ever in the supplement industry. And people coming back for more and all that. And that's what we were known for. And so we basically learned all our chops in Canada, and now we're now in the United States, and we have a warehouse in Idaho, and we're now getting the word in the U.S. about this amazing product. But that's my story, man. Like it was a life changing
Wow.
experience.
That's an incredible story, man. It's like very engaging, right? Because we have like all these health stories that we can really look to. It's just incredible, all the healing stories. And I thought it was interesting you mentioned Brian Tracy in the beginning. He's like an excellent author,
Yeah.
personal development. He's written like over 80 books.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, marine phytoplankton, it's really the deal for sure.
Yeah, well, I think, what's funny is like even still today, Anthony, is that, okay, we have a nutritional industry, right? Like
Yeah.
supplements and all that stuff. And I'm not knocking them or nothing, right?
Yeah.
But I find it very ironic that we have all these brands in all over the world, really, right? All over the world, there's nutritional supplement brands, and every single one of them has overlooked the base nutrient on the planet. Like nobody ever said, "Hey, what's the beginning of life, food, and nutrition?" Everybody's trying to do spirulina, chlorella, blue green, or formulating a multivitamin or their new superfood green drink and all that stuff. And I'm not saying that they're bad at all, but we always say that they're really trying to emulate marine phytoplankton because that's divinely formulated from the beginning. I didn't formulate it. I was just at the right place at the right time. And, obviously my story is that then diving into it and saying, hey, this is the base, like what Dr. Rose said to me. It's like, holy grail, this is the base food. This supports all life. It's the most, actually too, it's the most abundant plant life on Earth because it floats on the entire oceanic real estate. And it's also the number one oxygen producer on the planet. So it is responsible for so many things. And so if the root cause of sickness, not feeling good, body not working properly is malnourishment of some sort, then the most logical thing that you would start with in order to try and get your health back is the base nutrient, right? And obviously the body recognizes it because even though it's from the ocean, the nutrition is universal. And now I'm here at 52 years old. I don't have a weight issue. I'm on 0 medications. I have no mobility. I have, knock on wood, but like, I don't have anything wrong with me. My blood pressure is completely perfect. and I just feel good. I barely get sick. So I think that, so I'm kind of thinking, again, the cure for cancer or disease is to just not get it.
Right. Yeah.
It's just like, but like, how do you do that, right? And it's just about taking in good, eating good, and getting adequate nutrition. So I think marine phytoplankton is the absolute pole position best health hack on the planet. I mean, obviously that's why I'm here, right? Is that, and it's because of the results that people get. This quite
Right.
simply, right? If spirulina chlorella got the results that we got with the phytoplankton, I wouldn't be here because it's way cheaper.
Right. Yeah. It kind of reminds me of a Quinton marine plasma in terms of the healing, because I like the benefits and the healing for both of these are crazy. I mean, the marine phytoplankton. Can you explain what that exactly is to people?
Okay, well, yeah, thank you. So first of all, okay, so imagine this. Okay, so we have the ocean, okay? When the sunlight penetrates the surface of the ocean, so like to say this is the surface of the ocean, and here's the sun rays coming down. When the sun rays are down here in between this, so in where the microscopic vegan plants literally pop to life out of nothing, out of those two things. And these plants move, they swim, some of them have like little legs and they look like they have intelligence. And the one that we sell looks like a green globe. It is 1.2 microns, which is 1/3 the size of a blood cell. And inside this green globe that just basically pops out of nowhere is all the omegas, complete protein, all the B's, beta carotene, vitamin C, selenium, magnesium, manganese, riboflavin, superoxide dismutase, carotenoids, zeaxanthin for eyes, you name it. It's all in there in micro dosing, okay? So it's a vegan plant, and then the krill eat the marine phytoplankton. So here we have all these vessels, diesel vessels, scooping up krill and squishing them. I don't know how they do it, but obviously there's probably some sort of squishing going on to get these omegas in krill. But the krill actually get the omegas from the phytoplankton, and plus it has a little bit more than just the omegas, right? And then the whales eat the krill, and the whales live to be 100 years old. They're the size of a school bus. Other fish eat the krill, and then the birds eat those fish, and here's the cycle of life. So that what is happening on the top of the ocean. So here's the other thing: fish does not smell like fish. Fish smells like phytoplankton. When you are on the beach and you are at the ocean and you have that ocean smell, that is the phytoplankton. That is not the salt water. Ocean smell is phytoplankton, because this is what phytoplankton smells like. It kind of tastes a little bit like liquid, like nori a little bit. And so that is why it's the beginning of life, because it literally is immaculate conception. And this phytoplankton that we grow, it's not male or female. It can actually multiply on itself. Now, the other thing too, which we can tap into a little bit, is that we're not taking this from the ocean. I do not have the smallest fish net in the whole wide world, and we're not out there in our boots scooping phytoplankton out of the ocean. We have a facility in southern Spain that basically has microfiltered ocean water. So we take the ocean water out. I mean, if we're taking anything out of the ocean, it's the water. There's a lot of water in the ocean, so we're not hurting that. But we microfilter it. Like, we're talking military grade, clean, super clean ocean water. And then we just there's a phytoplankton heirloom seed bank, and we can put it into that salt water with some sunlight and some CO2. And the phytoplankton, so our tanks are enclosed. It's called reactor technology because it's all enclosed. So this super clean ocean water is going in tubes back and forth about half the size of a soccer field, and in a swimming pool about a foot deep, and then the tubes are about 4 inches, and they're inside the water, and the ocean water is circulating back and forth when it hits the end zone. It kind of does a 180 and has another set of pipe going through there. And after 3 months, the phytoplankton multiplies so much, it becomes thick like a very vibrant green ketchup kind of consistency. And then we take all the moisture out of it so the bacteria doesn't grow, and we freeze it at the same time. And then it becomes kind of like a frozen sheet of phytoplankton biomass. And then we grind it into the powder, which is now stable for over 3 years. And so that's what we're doing. So we're like, and then when we grow the phytoplankton, the exhaust that comes out of our stacks is pure oxygen. And then when we put the ocean water back in, so we're actually putting the water that's left over back in the ocean, and it's going to have more phytoplankton in it than there was before. So it's a real full circle seed to stomach operation. And we're currently right now, I also want to make it clear, is that this is not a commodity. There is not like a million people around the world growing this and you can just get it everywhere for super cheap. Like we're the pioneer. We pioneered it. We pioneered it. We have a recipe that we protect that maximizes the nutritional outputs so that we give a super high quality product. And, we only have enough right now. We only have enough for about 30,000 people.
Wow.
So, and then of course, when we hit that marker, then we can scale, but it's a very capital intense business as well, right? So we gotta, and here we are, just trying to, get the word out so then we can talk to these 30,000 people that might want to need it.
Absolutely. So to my understanding, it contains every single nutrient that exists that we know about, like every vitamin, every mineral, and every antioxidant. Do I have that right?
Absolutely, yep.
Yeah, it's insane. Like, there's nothing really like it. Can you explain to people the importance of it in the oceans itself, and also how it's kind of responsible for the oxygen that we breathe as well?
Yep. They said that NASA says between 60 to 80% of every breath we take came from phytoplankton.
Wow.
Yeah, it is the most abundant plant on Earth. And the cycle of life is that the krill eat the phytoplankton, and then all the fish start eating the krill. So that's kind of like or they call the zooplankton, I guess. Krill. I'm putting krill in a box here because there's more than just krill. Let's call it the zooplankton, which is basically the first animal life, right? Because the phytoplankton is the first plant life. So a lot of people might think that it's like an animal or like a living creature. It's living, but it's a plant, right? So the base nutrient is vegan, right? And also too, I'll say, is that what's also really interesting, it's allergen free because it's not shellfish. It's just the food for the shellfish or like these creatures, right? So that's another thing that's kind of divine about it as well. Like, I've never had a reaction or anybody like having any problems with it other than they might have a detoxing effect, but it's not an allergen. So that's really interesting as well, that the first food, doesn't, it only benefits people. So yeah, and basically we call it the hardest working plant on Earth that nobody knows about. Sometimes it's always like the hardworking guys, that don't get noticed, right? So that's always kind of the joke, that it carries a big load. And now it's potentially like it's a human food source, but actually even too, like we sell it for pets because pets are mammals too. And these type of results that I'm talking about for the humans also does a lateral to cats and dogs and horses.
That's incredible. That would make sense.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, we think of like oxygen in terms of trees, right? Which, of course, yes, that's important. But the reality is phytoplankton actually play a much bigger role in the air that we breathe.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of people will be like, well, what about the Amazon? And I'm like, yeah, I'm sure. I'm not debating that the Amazon is an amazing ecosystem and puts out a lot of oxygen. But the ocean has a little bit more real estate than the Amazon. And thinking that plant life, like countless. I mean, I don't even know like what's past like 10 quadrillions. Like, I mean, the number would be impossible to quantify. How many phytoplankton are in the ocean absorbing CO2? Actually, even too. Like, so there was a big wildfire in Australia a few years ago, and then there was all this smoke. And actually, what happened is that the phytoplankton, because now there's all this carbon and CO2 in the atmosphere, that's actually that is what's it called? I'm trying to think of the word. When you have lots of babies, you're procreating. It is the procreation steroid for phytoplankton, because all this stuff is in the atmosphere. So the phytoplankton now have this source of what they breathe, right, to convert into photosynthesis, into nutrition, into oxygen. Well, phytoplankton basically procreated around the Australian coast and sucked up all that CO2 from the atmosphere. And so phytoplankton actually played a big role in helping clean the air out. So that's the other thing that, obviously we talk about like the CO2 and all that other stuff. Well, phytoplankton are equipped to absorb that. And when they absorb that CO2, then they're making more phytoplankton, which then it creates more of a food source for more living creatures in the ocean. So again, it's I can't say the word divinely designed enough, because
Absolutely.
They call it the lungs of the planet. Actually, is what and I can also probably say it's probably also an air filter.
Makes sense. I mean,
Yeah.
in terms of scientific research, what do we see in terms of the benefits?
Well, what we're finding. Well, I'll start with this. This was the first test that I did, and it kind of circles into what we talked about, it being different than other things. So again, the root of this discovery was cancer. Okay, and again, going back to my mom, near and dear. So when I was starting the regulatory process, I lived in a university town, and because I was in the restaurant, I met a lot of the professors, and I met a professor there that did cancer cell line tests for the Atlantic Cancer Institute in New Brunswick, from the province that I'm in. Now, and she did it for 25 years. And so I was talking to her about it. I told her about the phytoplankton, and she was actually a little bit skeptical. She was kind of giving me that, oh yeah. But I was like, hey, I'm willing to pay for it. Like, I want to see what's going on. Can we do something? And so we were able to acquire breast cancer and colon cancer cell lines from the Cancer Institute. And she put the phytoplankton in the colon cancer and breast cancer cell lines, and we had 100% cancer cell death in the Petri dish within 72 hours. Wow. And so where this is different, she had said that in 25 years, and I quote, "I have never put an organic compound into a cancer cell line and have 100% cell death." She goes, "This is really impressive, and this really validates like what you're telling me about. There's something going on here." So the next step was to kind of break it down, which is called fractionation, to go find out what it is. But now we're getting into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so I went to go get some funding, because we were kind of speculating it might be a peptide. Or maybe an unknown peptide, that maybe there's something in phytoplankton that it doesn't, like when it goes to krill, it doesn't transcend into the food chain. Like it's only in phytoplankton. And we wanted to go find that out, but it was so super expensive and way beyond my financial means. And I found out very quickly, and people can put two and two together, that the political landscape did not want to dive into this very deeply. And it was very hard for me, even though I had thousands of anecdotes and a top cancer researcher saying that this is the first time she ever saw a natural compound doing this. It was a little hard to get some funding to push that forward, so people can fill in the blanks of why. But so I was a little bit discouraged about that, but then actually my banker said that because I was really depressed about it, and I was kind of F-bombing around a little more than normal, and he just said, "Dave," he goes, "you're going to die trying this, help these people." He goes, "Why don't you just sell it get a license for it as a multivitamin and just let the product do the talking?" And it was like, dang, and that's what I ended up doing. It was the best advice I ever got. But but that also too is so that was the first thing I did, but then that tied us into kind of like figuring out more about it. So we had it like so we had it broken apart. We took all the that's how I know that there's all the omegas and the manganese and all that stuff. We spent $7,000 getting a lab in Texas to do it to dissect it and give us all the mineral breakdown of it, or the vitamins and minerals and all that stuff. And so, like you said, vitamin C, B vitamins, they all have science behind them that say that they're beneficial to human health. So, it makes sense about that. We definitely have seen. We did some tests with it. We had some markers for inflammation reduction. We had this thing called an NFR2, which is a cell signaling mechanism that is showing that the cells are signaling other cells, which is again goes back to my immunity thing that I was talking about, because that's an immunity precursor. And that's about to the extent of it for now. And then we also have like the superoxide dismutase in there, which is the first it's the first antioxidant in the pathway. Which has a lot of science with like recovery and sports recovery, slowing down aging, cleaning cells out, things like that, which superoxide dismutase is not present in a lot of plant life. It's like what they call the master antioxidant. And and the other thing too is so that, some people say, well, that's not a lot of science, Dave. Well, I mean, there's a lot of science, like I said, on B's and C and beta carotene and selenium and magnesium, and people are buying those all the time, and these are just natural ingredients in the phytoplankton. But also too, it's very hard, like if you think about it, you can't really do a lot of trials, and especially on human trials, unless it's approved for the safety data, because it's unethical to give people something that hasn't been approved, right? Well, I never got it approved to 2014, so really, if you think about it, I've only been selling it for 11 years, even though it's been a 20-year journey. You know what I mean? So, like, it's kind of hard to have hundreds of years worth of science on it when it's only that old, and I'm not a pharmaceutical company with pretty deep pockets either, right? But it is pure nutrition. Nutrition is universal. Clinical trials are usually only 300 people, and we sold it to tens of thousands, so... but this is the early indicators that we have right now that it's very positive. Like, I haven't had anything come back that has been like, I better hide this skeleton in the closet. Everything is it's nutrition. Everything just seems to be stacking in the benefit of human health.
Yeah, I mean, you just got to experience the benefits for yourself, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, man. This has been awesome. I really appreciate you sharing your story with us. It's very incredible, the healing stories that you've overcome. And the thing about marine phytoplankton is really one of the foundations of life on this planet, right? It's responsible for so many things. And just bringing awareness to this and taking on these nutrient compounds, just experiencing the benefits for ourselves, right? Of course, in conjunction with all the lifestyle practices that we talk about. But this is a very high quality addition to your overall wellness. So again, man, I appreciate you coming on, sharing your story and all your insights with us. It's been awesome.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, no, I mean, it's and it's just one of those things. It's like, we've got it down to $90 for a month, so it's not the cheapest. And, we just say, $3 a day, like it can potentially replace a few things too. And if it makes you feel amazing, then, they said, like what I said, like when we got audited, they're like, people stay on it, right? And, people go, why didn't I know about this 25 years ago? And I'm like, yeah, well, it takes a while. Like, again, if anybody's hearing this for the first time, just think about it. I'm 52 years old, and it was like, I was 32 when I did it, and they're here. And I've been working on it, Anthony, every day for 20 years. This is how long it takes, man. Like when you pioneer something, they say the pioneers get the most arrows. I can concur. It hasn't been easy, but you know what? It's worthwhile because of, whenever I get somebody telling me that, they can hold their grandkid again without pain. Well, it's a good day at the office, right?
Absolutely.
It's a good day at the office.
If people want to get connected with you and your work, where can they go?
Yeah, well, so the company that we have is I have an easy domain. It's called usagpa.com. That is like, basically a landing page for people that have heard a podcast or like a radio ad before, because it kind of, you know, and so it's very simplified and there's some testimonials on there. But if you go onto the top, because that is just a landing page for people who've kind of been exposed through means like this. But then if they want to get into the science documents that we have and want to do a little bit of a deeper dive, they can just click around and it's all there on the website. So it's usagpa.com. And there's a phone number on there as well if they have any other questions, and emails and all that other stuff. But people, and also too, it's like, not that you're going to need it, but we do have a money back guarantee as well. So it'd be like, oh, I was on Anthony's podcast, that Dave Hunter guy sold me this $90 phytoplankton. Well, I'll take the risk on it. You have to go do the first move, but I'll back up Anthony's podcast. I don't want any money. I don't want people's hard-earned money if it doesn't work for them. But we had a 0.81% return rate, and we've had a money-back guarantee since the beginning. So I just really recommend, if it resonates with anybody, just give it a try.
Awesome, man.
Can change their life. It's unique.
Appreciate you.
I appreciate you too, man. I appreciate you giving me this platform to tell the story.
For sure.